Welcome to Watch Symposium. I'm Austin. All right, so continuing on with the theme of yesterday, the secondhand market, the pre-owned watch market. Let's talk a little bit about that because I've bought 3 expensive watches and I feel like I can maybe offer some insight into that. All right, well, let me just say that I bought all my watches in Japan. I live in Japan and I bought them from brick and mortar shops in Japan. My thought was that if there was a problem, I could resolve it. As I mentioned yesterday, when you buy something like a Rolex without having it in your hand, without having really anything to go on except pictures, you got to be really careful. Photoshopped images, or not getting what you were shown in the pictures, or getting stock pictures of the model, not the actual picture of the model. And so, you know, when you're talking across borders, there's a real risk. I mean, if I were to buy something from Italy or another country, there would be really little recourse. I mean, you know, what would I do? Hire an international lawyer, some sort of nonsense like that. So I really wanted it to be in country, the same country where I was. And being Japan, that's what I limited my searches for. And in fact, I went through Rakuten.com, which is it's kind of like, I guess I would describe it as sort of a conglomeration of different shops that put their goods up, and search for it and you'll see it. Rakuten, Rakuten, and I don't think it's in English, but maybe I'll post a link. I'll post a link to some subs and maybe a GMT Master 2, so you guys can check out Rakuten. But, you know, I always thought that if, you know, something happened, I could, if all else, take a train or a plane to the shop and make my presence felt. Now, it never really came to that at all. It never came to it because I was really happy with what I got. And, you know, if you've ever thought about buying a watch from a different country, well, I can't vouch for any other country, but in a sense, I can vouch for Japan, especially the brick and mortar shops. You know, I think you probably would be all right. You know, I don't want to go into the whole mindset of, you know, Japanese people and why you'd be okay, but I think I will. I feel like I have to, in a sense, because it's explainable why a brick and mortar shop and your typical Japanese person is not going to want to screw you over. They're going to want an easy transaction. You know, Japanese are taught to think about the group and to sort of be aware of other people's feelings and, you know, the group as a whole. Group over individual is something that they're taught pretty much from the start of their school careers. And I see it with the way my wife raises my daughters. You know, I come from a very individualistic society in the sense that, you know, when you're trying to sell something or when you're making a deal, you do what's best for you. And that could mean misrepresenting what you're selling, and you know, you're not going to get that here. In fact, oftentimes, you know, the sellers and the shops, they will highlight the problems of the watches, and they will have, you know, very high resolution macro shots really honing in on problems with the watch. It's almost like they want to let you know huge, big heads up of what issues the watches have. And that's not the case, I'm assuming, from a lot of other sellers. You know, when I go to Chrono 24, you'll see watches that are clearly kind of in fair condition, marked as like, their top grade, whatever that is. Like fine or not fine. No, fine is sort of middle of the road with Chrono 24. Something like, mint. Things that are not mint are just labeled mint. It's kind of a go-to thing. So, if you've thought about sort of the watch market and whether you would want to go international, I really would say you'd probably be fine going through a brick and mortar shop from Japan. If they're going to want to make sure the transaction is good, they're going to think about, your feelings after the fact, to be honest. And could you return it? I'm almost certain you could. But I don't think it would come to that. I think you would get exactly what you saw. Now, you'd have to ask the right questions, and that could be a challenge language-wise. But it's a very safe country to purchase from, and you're not going to get fakes. And again, it's going to be tough if something happens and you're not in Japan. But within Japan, I feel like it's very safe, and I feel like it's a great country, even internationally, to buy from. So if I were to go back to the States and I found a good watch on, say, Rakuten, I would have no problem buying it. I wouldn't be fearful. I wouldn't be scared. Now, I should, in another video, the next video, go into a little bit about sort of the behind-the-scenes market here. When you sell a watch, does it go straight to the shop, and kind of some things that they do here. Not bad things, but just sort of a heads up on sort of the pre-owned market in Japan. But I guess this video is just to say that I've been really happy with my experiences. And it goes to sort of the mindset of to think about the other person, and to look at the transaction not as like a cutthroat, ruthless capitalist, but sort of as a transaction where you want a win-win scenario. And I think you see that in Japanese society, and it comes out in the honesty of the pre-owned watch trade. I think it's probably your safest country, to be honest. So anyway, next time I'm going to go into a little bit more detail on that. Thanks for watching. Take care. See you next time.